All right, hey everybody, good afternoon. Meteorologist Dave Downey here. I want to give you an update. New advisory in for the National Hurricane Center in the past half hour. The 5 p.m. advisory actually lowered Tropical Storm Ian's sustained winds from 50 to 45 miles per hour. Does not really mean anything in the long term. It doesn't have the greatest look here on satellite, you see. Again, that's going to change in the next day or two. Just moving just north of due west between 10 and 15 miles per hour. Here is that track. So it's going to turn into a hurricane likely overnight tonight into the day on Monday. And then it's going to strengthen from a Category 1 storm to a Category 3 major hurricane as it passes basically right over the western coast of Cuba. Here's the reason why. You see all these oranges and kind of red contours on the kind of under the cone there you see. What that is what we call ocean heat content. Basically, how much energy can the system, Ian in this case, sap up from the ocean and use to intensify itself. And in this case, there definitely is enough, and that's why it's going to rapidly intensify into a major hurricane. Here's the closer up view of the cone in terms of the Florida peninsula. It's going to make its approach to Florida likely as a hurricane. The question, of course, will be a Category 1, 2, 3. Well, it's not really going to matter. You see it kind of weakens as it approaches landfall, but as hurricanes do this, we saw this back with Katrina in 2005. Their wind fields increase, they produce more rainfall. So just because those maximum sustained winds come down, that does not mean storm surge threats definitely do not go down. In fact, storm surge can actually go up when you have that broadening, enlarging of that wind field. So models have been kind of pinpointing the landfall location down. We'll talk about those on the spaghetti plots here in just a second. New at the 5 o'clock advisory, Key West, Lower Keys in a tropical storm watch now. The western part of Cuba there is under a hurricane warning. Here are these plots. We discussed these yesterday. They are kind of narrowing down the uncertainty here. We said pretty much it looked like between Tampa and Panama City, somewhere in there would be the most likely landfall point, maybe even all the way down closer to Fort Myers now, Sarasota. I think the most likely landfall point is definitely north of Fort Myers. But this is something that obviously needs to be watched. The uncertainty has definitely gone down, though. A day or so ago, it looked like it go even further west in Panama City. Pensacola, Alabama, doesn't look like that anymore. It's looking more and more likely a Florida landfall is imminent, the mid to late part of this work week. Okay, let's talk tropical storm force winds. Look how big that wind field gets as it enters the Gulf of Mexico. Arrival times have been pushed back a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, maybe 12 hours or so. Tuesday evening for the Keys, Wednesday morning for South Florida. That includes Fort Myers, Miami, and Tampa on Wednesday afternoon. You need to have everything ready to go a day before all of these numbers, or all these times, I should say, are listed. Have that hurricane plan ready, already rocking and rolling if you're anywhere pretty much across the Florida peninsula right now. In terms of percentages, we're going to talk percentages. These have all been going up and they will continue to go up, especially on the Gulf side. I want to stress that even if, I know the forecast does say it's weakening on approach, that does not necessarily mean that impacts will be less just because the maximum sustained winds will also then, of course, decrease as opposed if it's landfalling as a Category 3 storm as opposed to a Category 1 storm. We saw this in Miami back in 2017. Hurricane Irma made landfall on Marco Island. Miami, as Irma was weakening, still saw Category 1 sustained hurricane force winds as it made landfall back in 2017. This is a situation that, of course, bears monitoring. This is the most significant threat as a tropical cyclone system since Hurricane Ida back when it made landfall last year. Further updates, of course, to come.